The most dangerous people in the room are always the quietest ones. And if you do not understand why this is true, you are probably being controlled by them right now without realizing it. What I am about to reveal will completely change how you interpret power dynamics in every meeting, social gathering, and leadership situation you encounter. Because the individuals who truly control outcomes are rarely the ones making the most noise or demanding the most attention. They operate through a form of influence so subtle and sophisticated that most people never recognize when it is happening, which makes it far more effective than the obvious dominance tactics that everyone can see coming and naturally resist. This principle applies across every domain where human beings organize themselves into hierarchies. But it is particularly important to understand in our current era where loud, attention-seeking behavior is often mistaken for leadership, while genuine authority goes unrecognized by people who have never learned to identify the real sources of power in any situation. Let me explain exactly how quiet authority works, and why developing this capability will make you far more influential than any amount of aggressive behavior or vocal self-promotion ever could. The first reason quiet people are the most dangerous is that they have learned to influence outcomes through strategic listening rather than constant talking, which gives them access to information that louder people never obtain because they are too busy performing to pay attention to what is actually happening around them. When everyone else is competing to be heard, the quiet observer is gathering intelligence about motivations, concerns, alliances, and weaknesses that can be used to guide decisions and shape outcomes in ways that serve their interests while appearing to benefit everyone involved. They understand that knowledge is power, and that the best source of valuable knowledge is usually other people who feel comfortable sharing information, because they believe they are talking to someone who poses no threat to their position or interests. Silent authority figures become trusted confidants and advisors precisely because they do not seem to be competing for status or recognition, which makes others more willing to reveal sensitive information and seek their counsel when important decisions need to be made. The second element that makes quiet authority so powerful is the ability to influence through strategic timing rather than constant pressure, which means their interventions carry maximum impact because they only speak when their words will have the greatest effect on outcomes. While loud leaders exhaust their influence through constant demands and opinions, quiet leaders accumulate influence by choosing exactly when and how to deploy their insights for maximum leverage. They might remain silent during lengthy debates and discussions, allowing others to reveal their positions and exhaust their arguments, then offer a single observation or question that reframes the entire situation and guides everyone toward their preferred outcome. This approach works because it appears wise and thoughtful rather than manipulative or self-serving, and because their rare contributions are given more weight precisely, because they are not constantly competing for airtime with others who talk more frequently. The third element is emotional stability that remains consistent regardless of external pressure or chaos, which creates a psychological anchor point that others unconsciously rely on during stressful or uncertain situations. When everyone else is reacting emotionally to challenges or conflicts, the quiet authority figure maintains composure and clear thinking that makes them the natural person to turn to for guidance and decision-making. This emotional reliability is incredibly valuable in organizational and social contexts, where volatility and drama drain energy and prevent productive outcomes. Because people naturally gravitate toward individuals who provide stability and calm, rather than adding to the chaos and emotional turbulence that characterizes most group dynamics. Their consistent emotional state becomes a resource that others depend on, which gives them significant influence over how situations develop and resolve. The fourth aspect of quiet authority is the ability to lead through example rather than instruction, which creates voluntary compliance rather than grudging obedience and builds lasting influence that does not depend on formal authority or position power. Instead of telling people what to do, quiet leaders demonstrate through their own behavior what excellence looks like, what appropriate boundaries are, and how challenging situations should be handled. Others naturally model this behavior because it appears effective and admirable rather than imposed or demanded, which means the quiet leader's influence spreads throughout groups and organizations without resistance or resentment. This approach is particularly effective because it works with human psychology rather than against it. People prefer to follow leaders they respect rather than leaders they fear, and respect is much more likely to develop towards someone whose authority emerges from competence and character rather than volume and aggression. The fifth element that makes quiet people particularly dangerous is their ability to build coalitions and alliances without appearing to engage in political maneuvering, which allows them to create support networks that can be activated when necessary while maintaining their reputation for being above petty power struggles and office politics. Because they do not seem to be competing directly with others for recognition or advancement, they can maintain positive relationships with multiple stakeholders who might otherwise be rivals or competitors. They become the person that different factions trust to represent their interests fairly, which gives them access to information and influence across organizational boundaries that more obvious political players cannot cross. When important decisions need to be made or conflicts need to be resolved, they can draw upon these relationships to build consensus around their preferred outcomes while appearing to serve as neutral mediators rather than advocates for their own agenda. But here is what makes developing quiet authority so challenging for most people. It requires genuine confidence and competence rather than just performing leadership behaviors, because the influence must be based on real value rather than artificial displays of dominance or expertise. Fake authority can be maintained temporarily through aggressive tactics or self-promotion, but quiet authority must be earned through consistent demonstration of good judgment, reliable character, and genuine concern for outcomes that benefit others rather than just personal advancement. This means you cannot simply adopt quiet behavior and expect to gain influence. You must simultaneously develop the capabilities and wisdom that make your quiet presence valuable to others rather than just mysterious or withdrawn. The development process requires learning to be comfortable with silence and patience, rather than feeling compelled to fill every conversational gap or respond immediately to every situation that arises around you. It means becoming genuinely interested in understanding others, rather than just waiting for your turn to speak or looking for opportunities to demonstrate your knowledge and opinions. It means developing expertise and competence that speaks for itself, rather than constantly explaining or defending your capabilities to others. Most importantly, it means shifting from trying to get recognition and validation from others to providing genuine value and support that makes others more successful and effective in their own roles and responsibilities. So how do you begin developing quiet authority that commands genuine respect, rather than just appearing withdrawn or disengaged from important conversations and decisions? First, practice listening with complete attention, rather than thinking about what you are going to say next, or how you can steer the conversation toward topics where you can display your knowledge or opinions. Second, learn to ask questions that help others think more clearly about their challenges and objectives, rather than immediately offering solutions or advice that may not fit their specific circumstances or constraints. Third, develop genuine expertise in areas that matter to your organization or community, so that when you do speak, your contributions are based on real knowledge and experience rather than just opinions or theoretical ideas. Fourth, practice maintaining emotional equilibrium during stressful or chaotic situations, so that others can rely on you for stability and clear thinking when their own judgment might be compromised by pressure or emotion. Fifth, look for opportunities to support others' success behind the scenes rather than seeking credit or recognition for your contributions, which builds loyalty and trust that can be more valuable than public acknowledgement. And finally, learn to be patient with outcomes and resist the urge to control every situation directly. Because quiet authority often works slowly through influence and example, rather than immediate commands and demands. The most respected leaders throughout history have often been those who led through quiet strength rather than loud dominance. And their influence has lasted long beyond their lifetimes, because it was based on genuine value creation, rather than position power or personality manipulation. If you are ready to stop competing for attention and start building the kind of influence that commands genuine respect and voluntary cooperation, follow this channel and turn on notifications. Quiet authority is one of the most powerful forms of